Hi everyone, it's Jean. I hope you're having a great Sunday afternoon. So I'm stopping by today because I want to show you a very interesting way that you can create some background papers for your journal, for your ATCs, for cards, for journaling cards, tags, whatever you want to use them for. And I learned part of this procedure from an artist that I just started watching. She has a very very interesting look on how to create things, and I just love her. Her name is Jodefi, I think. That's what she calls her channel, JOIEDEFI. So I am going to link her information in the bottom so you can check it out for yourselves. But what you need for this project is basically some book pages, any kind of book pages you'd like. If you have some vintage ledger pages, vintage date book pages. I have a Reader's Digest that I've been tearing papers out of. I also have some mail envelopes that I saved the insides to because I thought the design was really cool on these. You don't have to use these if you don't want to, but if you want to add a little underlying interest to your page, you can do that. If you have some other book pages that you want to use that look a little different, and you need to have to start, I start with one of my scrapbook papers that's not my favorite. So I have a lot of scrapbook paper, and like I said, some of it is not my favorite. So let me see. Like the other day, I was going through some of my scrapbook paper and I had camouflage, and I'm like, where in the world and how am I ever going to use a piece of camouflage? So I'm actually just going to use this red. In case you didn't know, I'm not very fond of red. I mean, red has its place, but I'm not a big fan of red. Glue stick is what I'm using to put down my book pages. So let me tear a few out here. And I'm not worried about where, whether, I don't want these to have images on them. So I'm trying to tear out what doesn't. I had run out of book pages, did you believe it? I had to buy myself some Reader's Digests. And actually Reader's Digests are really nice because they're older and they have a little bit of patina to the pages. And I love that. And that's just perfect for this page. Now, you will actually need to have enough book pages to do 2 spreads, and I'll explain why in a little bit. If you saw my short, what it shows is 2 pages, so that's why it's good to have enough book paper for 2 12 by 12 scrapbook paper pages. So I have some more over here that I can use. So basically the process is just start laying this down, and it doesn't have to be in any particular order. you just take your glue stick, and I'm using my giant glue stick, and it looks like it's seen its days because it's been used as a roller and all kinds of things over the course of its life. Okay, let me put this down so I can get this right at the edge of the page. If you don't like the white, you can tear it off, or just let it hang over the edge and then you can trim it later. I don't really mind it myself for this project. I just lay down my pieces any way that they fit, and you have to overlap some of them because you're not going to have enough. I mean, it's not. Now see, this is an interesting kind of design there. So I'm going to just keep that, put this at the edge, and cover up this other page so I can have this other interesting page. So just smooth everything down with a glue stick. Unfortunately, things will come up and you may have to re-glue the corners. The reason I'm not using my gel medium on this is because I'm going to put some things on top that I don't know will stick if I use gel medium. I haven't tried it out yet. So, all right, we almost have this one covered, and then I will get the other one and we'll get it covered. And if you want to add any other interesting papers on top, we'll do that in a second. Let me make sure I get these 2 pages covered so we at least have that part done. I'm so sorry, Joey, if I said your name wrong. She's from the Netherlands or something. I'm not exactly sure, so I may have said her name wrong, and I apologize if I did. But what I like about her videos is she's very easy to learn from, and she gives you a lot of helpful hints. So this is a 2-page spread, so we're just going to use it like that and ink this all up. I just want to make sure I get the edges more than anything. I don't want this coming up later. So this is the boring part. Maybe you could think it's the boring part. When I'm doing anything with book pages, I think it's fun, so I don't consider it the boring part. So what have you all been doing on Sunday? Here in Pennsylvania, it got a little humid, and I think it's coming from another area because it didn't rain here where I live, but it rained about, I don't know, 20 miles away, 15 miles away in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So it may have just, oh crud. Now this is the great thing about a glue stick is you can reposition your papers. I almost missed the edge of this crazy psychedelic blue. Okay, wonderful. Now, after we put down all of our pages, we can decide then if we want to add other other things. Like, for example, I have these strips of leftover, I think that's only, is it only one piece of dictionary paper. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put it along the seams here and see if that'll help keep some of those seams down. This was just from another project where I wanted to, I used some dictionary pages, and we don't want this to go all in the same direction. Okay, and we can use some of this. This is like, okay, it says measurements. It's got a big glob of glue on it. That's what I get for gluing on top of my project, right? Okay. So let me do a little repair work here. And then I wanted to put a little bit, I have so much of this ledger paper, but it is so super brittle. It just flakes right off. But I like the brown contrast. I'm going to use the part that has the writing on it. I like the brown contrast that it adds. And Miss Basil Hawkins-Smith, she must have either paid or borrowed cash. I don't know which. I want this side. So one of the things that I think makes this project a little bit more creative is when you do use different colored aged papers, if you have them available. If you don't, it's no problem. You can actually use things like paper bag, leftover paper bag. You can use, you can also use packing paper, because it sometimes comes in different browns. You can also use, oh, there's something else I was gonna say you could use and I forgot. What I wouldn't recommend doing is using paper that is going to, because we're going to create a design on top of this, and it's better to use a paper that doesn't require or doesn't have a busy design on it, because if you use that, then you just lose your whole composition, because the eye doesn't take it, doesn't look really at the patinaed papers. It's looking at the other ones. So I have this one left, and it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty brittle. Well, for goodness sake. Am I almost out of my magic glue stick? I've had this glue stick for a while, so I don't feel like digging that out. And I don't know if I have another glue stick right at my hand. So I thought I did. Where the who? Okay, we'll just use art glitter glue, because we know that does definitely glue things down well. Tear this right here. And it doesn't, you can put this anywhere randomly that you want to put it, just so it adds like a different color to your page. I'm not really concentrating on where I'm putting it or making any type of specific composition. I'm just adding it for color. That makes sense. I'm going to use a baby wipe here just to get some of this glue off of my hands. Now on my last, or on the ones that I showed you in the, okay, this should be down good. The ones that I showed you in the short, I did not do any stamping or any type of specific collage techniques that I normally use, but I am going to, on this one, I'm going to use a brown archival ink because I want to stay within the brown. And I'm just going to use a little script stamp, and I'm just going to stamp a couple places and get a different feel to this. And what I like about this brown, okay, it's not the brown I thought it was, but it's okay. It is brown. And then this will be permanent. It won't come off anywhere, or I won't have to worry about it running away. And if you don't have a script stamp, you can always use your own script. Just think of some words and scribble them on there, and away you go. And I apologize that some of this is out of frame. A 12 by 12 is kind of hard to keep in frame. What are you doing over here? Yes, sometimes I talk to my art supplies because I'm lonely and I don't have anybody else in my craft room with me. Okay, so here we have a little bit of stamping. We have the patina with the different colored papers. We didn't get too crazy, but now we're going to get a little bit crazy. I'm going to glue these on, even though I'm just going to put them on one, just because I've never used them before and I want to see. I don't really want a whole lot of color on this, so that's one of the reasons why I'm not keen on using it, but we will, just because it's junk, and that's what we're doing. We're recycling junk. ¿Dónde están las otros papeles que tenía yo? Y se fueron. Oh, here's another one. I thought it had gone away, but it was here. And there we go. And little pieces like this, you know, you can use, like I said, to hold down seams or whatever you need to do. Okay, so the next step is to take our watercolors, just a little bit, nothing, we're not going to do anything fancy. we're just going to take our watercolors, and this is my ugly watercolor set that I use. I got a new one, but I haven't tried it out yet, and I don't want to open it up for this because it's not that major of a project. So what we need is green, okay? So I'm gonna just go in here and get some green, and then what I'm gonna draw with the green are just some little stems. And these stems are they could be for things such as berries, or let me get a different color going here. And just draw them lightly throughout your page so that you have some kind of, what we want to achieve with this is some type of botanical, whether it be mainly it should be stems, and we want to go through the paper in various locations and add our stems. As you can see, they're not fancy stems, they're just regular stems. I think I found like an olive color, which is what I usually like to use for stems. If you want to put some leaves, you can, but leaves are not necessary. It's not really a watercolor exercise. It's just drawing the stems in different locations and try to fill up the page. Okay? So let me get this going so you guys don't have to wait forever to see me draw stems and leaves. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to let this one dry because I'm going to come back to it in a moment. And this one is less busy, so we're just going to start here and draw our stems, not try to keep them a little bit thinner, not so outlandish. I think it's a little bit of brown in here. Sometimes, depending on the time of year, your stems are not always going to be that bright green. Your leaves are going to have some orange in them, probably. So I'm going to just do a couple here on this one, and then we'll go to the next step. dropped my pen. I was trying to be light-handed and I dropped it. Okay, I'm using some of the brown in here, and I like the brown with the green. Green. Combination of brown and green is green. And let me put another one here. They look like just little trees everywhere, don't they? They're supposed to be branches, but maybe I just don't know how to make branches. I'm gonna try to get the green off there. I don't know if I will or not, but I wanted to add like a little bit of a brown orange leaf to this one. Okay, there we have plenty, I think. So that's all we need to do for watercolor. And because our page is pretty thin, the watercolor will dry really quickly. So we can switch pages, and then we can take any kind of fine liner you have, and I didn't want to use this one because it's acrylic. Let me see if this one will work. Okay, any kind of fine liner. Now, the problem that you may have, depending on the kind of paper that you used, if it's some old paper, it may not want to, doesn't have to be anything special. We're just outlining these with squiggly lines, and we're giving the plants a little bit of definition. Even if it's faint, it could be a leaf, it can be, goodness, some of these even look like cactuses. Shoo. So just go through and kind of do a little trace over and design over each of those, and it will bring them to life a little bit more. And I'm doing this very lightly because I don't want to rip some of this older paper that I used. This one has more activity on it than the other one, so. And this is kind of a process, so if you want to speed this up, go ahead. I'm not sure that I know how to do that on my video, but I will try to do it, so you don't have to watch me outline every single flower on here. I mean, stem. Okay, so here we go. We've outlined, oops, I forgot to do this one. Pretty much every one. And not only does that give us some definition to our plants, but it also gives us another element with the pen that we're using. Now, not all of this is going to be dry over here. I already smeared one, but I tried not to make the watercolor too thick so that it would dry quickly. And just going around these edges, and let me turn this like this because I think there's some drier ones over here. And it's good for this process before we go into some of the other things to kind of make sure this is dry. However, you have to do that. If you have to dry it with your heat gun if you have one. I keep saying I need to get my husband to get mine out of the attic. I think it made its way to my mom's attic, but right now he can't do a whole lot with him being sick, so we will air dry. He is doing much better, if anybody was wondering. He just has AFib, atrial fibrillation, and that is a challenge to deal with and make sure your medication's right and that your heart rate gets back to a relatively normal rhythm, even though it never will be exactly normal. Okay, so here we have these really cool flowers that have been I keep saying flowers. I've been working with flowers so much lately, they're on the brain. But these are some really cool stems that we're going to be working with. And we want in the underlying design. And we're just going to outline these with pen. I went a little fast with this so you guys did not have to watch such a tedious process. But my point was just getting down the pen lines and not really making any type of formal decoration. So now that we're done with that, we're done with the book pages, we're done with this, now we have the fun part. So my idea was with this was to make this kind of like not necessarily wintry, but maybe fall. So I have talked to you all before about using a product that I have, and they're called gelatos, and they actually have sorry, I'm digging for the gold one. They actually have, that's yellow, I think. All kinds of colors, and we can use different colors for different purposes, but I wanted to try to get something that was like a reddish, if I could find a reddish. But I don't think I have any. Is this gold? Okay, I have plenty here, so. Oh, another thing you're going to need for this is an iron. So if your iron takes a little bit to heat up, you may want to go ahead and get that on now. So I'm going to take, first of all, red. Yes, red. Actually, maybe I will skip the red and just, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to skip the red this time, and I'm going to use this color, which is a pretty pink. I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to shave this off in different places. And I'm going to try to make sure that I get some in the areas of where the plants are. So I'm just shaving off little pieces of this. I'm not coloring with it. I'm using the color and just dropping it different places on the page. Now, one of the challenges is making sure you get this far enough to the edge, especially in my case, because I don't really like any waste. So when I'm using my papers and all of my papers that I've designed, any edge papers or anything else that I have, I try to use for other purposes. So make sure you get at the edge and these corners that sometimes are missed. So we're going to use the color pink. Where's my cap? Okay, I don't know where my cap is, so. And then I'm going to add some of this kind of gold color. I've never used it before, so it's new. I'm just gonna drop some of it in some places. I didn't want that to be so thick, but I'm just gonna cut it. It's almost, these are called gelatos, and they almost remind you of a tube of lipstick because they're kind of creamy. I imagine these are Faber-Castells, so whoever came up with them probably liked lipstick, and that's why I love them, because I love lipstick. So I have, like, I don't know, a bunch of colors, too many colors. And we have this, and that looks amazing. So we're gonna put that down. Then, after we put this down, one of the other things that I have a lot of that I very rarely use anymore are certain makeup colors, just because they're not my jam. So I have a palette of a couple, and they're just in these little metal things. So I'm gonna take out, actually I don't even need to take them out. I'm just going to run my knife through it, and I'm gonna distribute the powder across the page. I'm not going to use the same color, so I think I'm going to use some of this over here. And the nice thing about using makeup in your art is that it has mica in it. And mica is that little fine powder that brightens up your makeup when you wear it. So I'm going to be a little wild here and use some green or greenish blue with some sparkle in it in different places. And you don't really need too much. I'm probably using more than what I need, but let me make sure all the color. So we have some green. Let me put some green right in the middle. And copper, and we have some brown, and I'm gonna put a little bit more of the green over here and the copper over here. Okay, so anytime you have an old makeup palette that you're not using anymore, this is a great way to use up some of that. And if you need to spread it around, just do whatever you need to so that you can get it where you want it, but you don't want it to actually color the page. Now, the last step and the funnest step is getting your candle wax and putting it on top of your design. Now, this candle was the only one we could find, and it is a creamier candle, or it could be just because it's hot. I don't know. But we're going to put some in different places. Make sure you put some where you have your makeup, because we don't want the makeup to come off on our hands when we use our design papers. We want it encased in the wax so that it doesn't come off. Sorry, this is hard to get out. I was hoping I could just get it out in little pieces and then just kind of dump it. Can I do that? Yeah. Okay. It smells like candy canes or something. It smells nice. I told my mom if she was going to give, I was asking her for one. I said, Mom, don't give me one that stinks. I have an aversion to smells, so I have to be careful about that. It'll either make me not feel good or it'll just be too strong. So, okay, we may have enough on here. You just kind of have to gauge it based on the amount of your that you put on the bottom. I may have too much, but too much is better than not enough. And I'm just going to kind of make sure that I have it in all the different areas, not just concentrated in the middle. Okay, now that I've added the wax, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our other paper that we designed, and I'm going to lay it on top like this. And it's a little bumpy right now because of the wax, but once we start to iron it, and I'm going to iron it right on those two papers. I just have a little craft iron, so let me get it going. I didn't pre-turn it on because I don't have anywhere to set it. So once it starts to get warm, then we can start running it around the places where it's bumpy and we know that there's wax. turn it up a little bit. You need a pretty warm iron to do this. So if you're nervous about using the iron right on top of the paper, you can put a cloth or something on it. I just have a piece of cardboard underneath mine. So mine is, so you can see it's starting to melt. And just go around in circles in different areas. And that wax that you put on there, it's gonna smell so good as it's melting. And I can really smell the peppermint this time around. I think I used a lot more wax than I did the last time. Now I know I have a lot of wax on here, so this is going to take a little bit to get it to all come to the, you know, melting stage, because I don't want to open this up. Oops, it's coming out. I don't want to open this up and then have it not have melted. So that's why I'm trying to go over all of the areas. When you do the circular motion, it may also help some of the wax to spread. So if there was wax in one place and not in another. The gelatos also have a waxiness to them, so they will melt as well. But what was interesting when I did this is that the other wax, the white wax, it actually sealed the gelatos, which is really good. Boy, if you're gonna have this for, if you're gonna use this for Sunday brunch, let me lay my iron down a second. I want to see what this is doing. Okay, it's creating a really cool effect. I want to see why wax is not, okay, so there's wax here. Is there none right here? Okay, that's why. And there must not be any right here in the middle. So that's what you can do. You can lift this up and you can see where you might need to add additional wax. Okay. I'm gonna add some right there, and go ahead and melt whatever's over here. And just do one more final swipe on the edges. Anywhere there might be wax that I missed, or wax that needs new wax that needs to be melted. Okay, so for the most part we have wax in a lot of the locations. Let me set this down one more time and put a little bit more wax in these places, just because I want a really good seal on this one. Most people have access maybe to beeswax or something of that type. I don't really have access to that, but I'm thinking definitely of getting some so I can do this with beeswax. I think it would be a very fun project with beeswax. Beeswax and shoe tacks. Where did my wax go? Put a little bit right up here. Okay, so I think we're good. We'll just iron this one more time to iron down any other waxy pieces. If you guys could smell this, it smells so good. That's one benefit to using wax that you have at home. Get a nice, yummy smell. Okay, I think I'm pretty pleased with that. Let's see what's going on over here. I'm pretty pleased with the coverage. So that's, let me unplug my iron real quick. So this is how you determine the coverage. When you're ironing and you see it come through on the back, that's how you determine the coverage. Also, you want to lift your papers off when they're still hot, because if you don't, what will happen is they'll stick. You don't want them to stick. So here we have this one, really cool. The gold was in some large splotches, so, oh no, that's the brown paper showing through. That's really cool. I love that. And then this one is the bottom one that has the brown papers and the blue papers. And it is just great. There's going to be some texture to it. It's still a little bit warm, but I love how this turned out. So nice. So let me put these aside and let them cool down, and then I'll show you the other two that I did. Now they're going to be different, of course, because it was my first time around. But they're still really cool. Now on this very first one, I put purple designer paper. I had some leftover strips and I put it on there, and I don't really, that's why I said that I didn't really care for that. Now, it's so nice and smooth when I run my hands through it. I still get some of the eyeshadow, I think. I probably needed more wax on this one than what I put on. Let me see how this hand is. Same. So these will probably have to be re-waxed because you want to make sure that you encase your eyeshadow into the wax. If you don't, what happens is it comes off on your hands. And if you're doing a project and you are using a piece of this paper, you don't want it to come off on your hands. So I will probably put some more wax on this one and run it through in the iron again. But isn't this a really cool way to create background papers? You can use all kinds of colors. You can use your different color papers that make a different look. You can outline with pen. You can do your stamping. You can do a lot of different elements before you put on the wax. And it just looks really nice. Am I missing a page? 1, 2, 3. No, I have all 4. So, I hope you try this and let me know the different things that you try before you get your wax. This is meant to be, you know, a very inexpensive project. You can get yourself a couple candles at the Dollar Tree and use them. If you don't have any eyeshadow, you can use, even pick up a Dollar Tree eyeshadow palette if you want to do that. You can, I mean, book papers, we pretty much can get those anywhere. And the envelopes you can save from your mail. And, you know, your watercolor, you don't have to do that. You can just draw it in with a marker, so, or a pencil, or don't do the leaves at all. But I hope you like this fun project and you try it, and I would love to see how many layers you try before you add your wax. So please leave me a comment below. Let me know where you're from, and I hope that you decide to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button and you will be notified when I post new videos. And I hope to see you all again soon. Bye for now.